Hello and welcome to Modern Mondays here at Guardian Games in Portland, Oregon. I'm Travis Cooper, hanging out with,
I'm Jeremy James.
and we're Portland Paper, streaming 4 rounds of Modern Magic from Portland, Oregon. Looks like round number 1 is underway, and we have Jund Shamans with one of our regular co-commentators here, Tim Chan, playing against Kurt Wakeling on Naya Midrange. Jund Shamans.
Oh, I'm excited. This deck has a lot of power, and being able to just see some of that on camera would be a nice way to start the night. Oh, wow.
Is that a Satyr Fire Drinker?
Yeah, it is.
It's a one drop 2/1 that has fire breathing
Yeah.
for 2, correct?
Yes. Also, it does damage to you every time it does damage to anything else.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that from Theros Draft back in the day. And Kurt's gonna follow that up with a 1-drop of his own in Wild Nacatl off of what land are we getting? Stomping Ground or Temple Garden?
Temple Garden. That's a rough start for the Shamans.
No, Kurt's just gonna take 2 damage. No blocks, and a follow-up of an elf. What's an elf
Elf
doing in a
shaman.
shaman deck?
It's shaman. So the Shaman's deck has a critical mass component, so being able to get a creature and a card out of that really um, is something you're looking for, just to be able to go wide and not run out of gas.
Okay, it looks like Tim is holding on to some removal with a lightning bolt there. Some more Elvish Visionaries hanging out in hand. All right, we've got a pumped up Wild Nacatl.
Getting low. Yeah, I know. No blocks, but a 14.
And Tim does not block, drops down to 14.
Yeah, the Fire Drinker Satyr is doing his both teams' duty here.
Coming in for 3. And Lightning Helix, always an important card in aggressive creature mirrors that can really turn the life total tide there.
Curious if he's going to take care of this Nacatl.
I was at 14. Right.
I saw he had a
So
bolt
you
in
attacked
hand.
with Nacatl, then I forgot about. Yeah, I didn't write down the Nacatl attack.
It looked like they were cleaning up their life.
Hey, Tim's going to shock in an Overgrown Tomb. Got all the colors now. Another Elvish Visionary, and I see a Collective Company, so a couple of Collective Companies.
Well, there's also a Rage Forger in there.
Land would seem like the best top deck that Tim could have.
I think he's going to be okay either way if there's not a huge board swing on the right.
Yeah, Lightning Bolt taking care of the Wild Nacatl.
Because even just Rage Forger next turn is going to be pretty good.
So can we get a graphic for Rage Forger hanging out up here? That's not the most common modern staple.
Oh, no need for that. We got this one instead.
Okay, we've got a Collective Company fired off main
Yeah.
phase for Tim.
Matching forests on each side of the board here.
Oh. When Rage Forger comes into play, +1/+1 counter on each other shaman you control. Conveniently, all of Tim's creatures are shamans. And whenever they attack, they're going to deal 1 damage to Kurt on an attacking trigger. So Kurt just takes a 2 from the 2 Visionaries. And are we going to see a Collective Company on Kurt's side, I'm curious? Or is that a card that's even in the deck? I'm unsure.
Oh, good old Spike Shot Elder. Yeah, get some 1/1 counters on that. Be able to finish off without combat.
No,
Ooh.
Master of the Fells. Haven't seen that guy in a while.
Yep.
But coming in with a friend.
Yep.
And another Wild Nacatl as a follow-up.
With this board, I would guess Collecting Company is going to turn out better than Rage Forger this turn.
I don't think Tim's really afraid of dying on the next attack, and so if you can company into the Rage Forger, that seems incredibly strong.
Right, but he might have to do it on his main phase because of the Huntmaster triggers. Yeah, we see him doing it on his turn to try and make sure that doesn't get flipped.
And rolling the dice. What do we hit?
Ooh. that's some gas. Boss
All
Baronet
right.
makes everything cheaper from now on, as long as it's a shaman. Everything right now is getting 1/1 counter. He's got another Rage Forger in hand, and he might just win next turn.
Yeah, I think Tim would probably be able to assemble lethal with just the attacking triggers from 2 Rage Forgers.
Yeah.
Two damage. It does 2 damage to target opponent, 2 damage to 1 target creature that the opponent controls. Okay.
I think there might have been another lightning bolt too.
So 4 damage from the trigger. Yeah.
All right, we're coming in for with 4 creatures. Get a trigger for 4 damage, and gonna line up some blocks here.
Look like that. You take 4. Yeah. Your wolf
Kurt
dies,
dropping to
your
8.
elder dies. Go ahead.
And we're gonna need some kind of miracle here. Or a lot of removal spells.
The old Naya midrange Wrath of God.
Another lightning helix would be a start.
Okay.
All right, another Hunt Master with a life trigger and a friend to come along.
That card is saving his day. I don't think other 4-drops would have done as well as that card in this matchup.
I can assume that since we're seeing Hunt Master in the main deck, we're probably not on Collective Companies on Kurt's side of the table.
Yeah.
And we get a path for the Rage Forger there.
No cards in hand. Okay.
And Tim has a couple leftovers, one of which is an additional Rage Forger. Kurt is now empty-handed.
Tap. Draw.
See a Burning Tree Emissary hanging out. Tim thinking about how to sequence these.
Right. I think Tim's in a situation where he feels confident he's going to be coming away with a victory in case something weird happens.
Yeah.
And so just what to make sure we close this door, because I don't think he can do it this turn, just to make sure he doesn't lose next turn.
Am I seeing 2 Rage Forgers in Tim's hand to
Yeah.
go along with that Burning Tree?
Rage Forger.
Let's throw another one right on top. I think he had another Elvish Visionary in his hand, yeah.
Draw a card.
So he's going to be able to draw that.
Phage Forger.
But, oh, he gets to play it because of the cost reduction from the Banneret. That's why it worked out.
Move to combat. Yep.
These Visionaries are gonna
Triggers.
tussle. So we're gonna get 3 triggers. Kurt's gonna drop to 7.
So 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 5.
Curious if Kurt is going to try to do some double blocks to get some stuff off the board, or for just in chump mode right now.
Yeah, he's got to think about what outs could be on the top of his deck.
So you take 3. Take 3.
All right, Kurt's gonna end up just taking 3 and losing a bird and a wolf. Tricky spot because Kurt kind of wants to flip those Hunt Masters, but then it's also going to need to cast some spells to win the game, or at least not die this turn. That just passes back to Tim.
Luckily, these do clear out the Rage Forger, but we know he has another one on top of his deck.
So I take 2 on his 6 2. Okay,
Yeah.
so first target is me and Forge, okay? Well,
Yeah.
second target.
Second target.
Only thing you kill
Okay, we get a damage on the damage targets on the Huntmaster flip to Ravager of the Fells. Deal 2 damage to Tim and 2 damage to a creature that Tim controls.
4. I think I'm just dead. I go to draw. Yeah, I've got another Rage Forger, of course. And then, you know, I don't know if you want to work the... No. Okay.
All right, and yeah, that third Raid Forger is gonna clean it up here, and going to game number 2.
Yeah, the card goes wild.
I just wanted to
As
flip
the
Alright, now I'm going to take out
Shaman's
the
deck
card.
is a nice, powerful critical mass deck that, if left to do its thing, it will be doing a lot of damage.
Have you played against the Shaman's deck before?
I've seen a lot of it played.
Okay.
I have not matched up against it, but I am okay with that.
I've seen a lot of strange Modern decks, and
Yeah.
I play a lot of Modern, but I actually have not played against Shamans either. See Tim showing us the board. We got Surgicals, some Fulminator Mages. Fulminator Mage is a Shaman. Rex
true.
Sage, Eternal Witness. Bonfire of the Damned, it looked like,
Oh yes.
for Kurt. And I was wondering what sweepers Kurt was going to be hanging out with, because Anger doesn't synergize well with Huntmaster or Wild Nicodle, but Bonfire, that's, you're asking for a miracle. That seems like
Right.
a pretty good one. It looks like chat was curious, what do we think about 4-color Shadow Zoo compared to Grixis Shadow in Modern?
So I have not played 4-color Zoo Shadow yet, but I've been playing Grixis Shadow lately, and I think that deck is very good against a lot of things, and it's really consistent in its own strategy. Like, it's trying to do what it's trying to do the whole time. The 4-color Shadow is similar in that way, but I feel like they're doing a little bit different work. They have the trying to get their life low strategy of getting shadows out, but they have this interesting consistency built in with the being able to play traverses, that they also get to lean into their artifacts more. I've actually been thinking about playing main deck Nile Spellbombs, and I think that some of the new 4-color decks are doing that in order to try and get the Delirium for the Traverse, and they are just good cards in general. So just getting a little bit of value out of some cards that you want to be playing anyway is a really interesting way to go. I'm not sure how the consistency with the land base is going to play out, though. I think that there's not an insignificant amount of land interaction going on in Modern, that it would make me nervous going into 4 colors.
Yeah, I played a fair amount of 4-color Shadow back when Gitaxian Probe was around, and it definitely feels more like an all-in combo deck, where you're on the Become Immense Battle Rage combo, and that is a reason to go in that direction as opposed to Grixis Shadow, is if the format is just really degenerate and you're not playing against a lot of removal, or the removals are Lightning Bolt instead of Fatal Push, then getting your turn 2 large creature that you can become immense in Battle Rage consistently on turn 3 is a pretty strong thing to do. Grixis Shadow feels like it plays more of a fair tempo game. You can get really strong starts with a turn 2 Delve threat, but with only playing like 1 or 2 Battle Rages, not quite as aggressive of a strategy. And I think you are correct. The mana base for 4-color is, you really have to sequence your fetches when you're playing like Wild Nicodle, plus Godless Shrine, Overgrown Tomb, Stomping Ground, Sacred Foundry, and want to play your green, black, and red cards all on curve. It's a lot of speculative fetching and shocking. And Field of Ruin is very strong against that deck.
But maybe the way you're talking about it, Field of Ruin's very strong at that deck in points in the game when you've already given up your big boost of speed of trying to overwhelm them really fast with this combo.
Correct.
So like by then you were maybe not, is guaranteed to win anyway.
It definitely feels more like a combo deck than Grixis Shadow does.
It has like one of the best plays in being able to traverse up the guy that has, when you attack, you can pay red and green to give it +4.
Or Clan Rampager.
Or Clan Rampager. That is an excellent play to have available to you. In the Claim Fame in the side is another one of those fun cards. It works really nice with like the Wild Nicodles being able to just all of a sudden be swinging for 5 damage, hasty for 3 mana is great.
Speaking of Wild Nikotl, looks like Kurt has a Temple Garden Shock into a Wild Nikotl.
This is one of the first unbannings in Modern.
I remember that.
Yeah. And I'm like, much like Bitter Blossom, like I think that these are wonderful cards to throw into Modern that everyone is not too upset about having them around.
Yeah, a 1 mana 3/3 kind of feels fair right now.
Yeah. And it's only a 3/3 on turn 2.
Correct. Doesn't even have haste.
Right.
Right, Tim doing a little searching of the library, grabbing the best shaman, and putting it on top.
Right. How good is Worldly Tutor if it came with a 1/1 attached in its own tribe's, flavor?
Go to 14.
All right, coming in for 3, Tim dropping to 14.
Okay. Shamans. Burning Tree, Elvis Visionary. Draw card.
So we get a Burning Tree into an Elvis Visionary, just setting up some Shamans to hopefully end up with some 1/1 counters on them soon.
This is a really strong start for Shamans. Oh, Sigarda is another one of my Modern favorite cards.
Yeah, we saw a Sigarda hanging out in Kurt's hand.
Okay.
But we're just going to see a Knight deployed this turn off of a fetch from Windswept Heath.
Knight's a fun card that it's so powerful it sees good legacy play. And in Modern, it's funny in that it sees, I feel like, less play.
Yeah, that's definitely true. It feels like the power level of lands in Modern is not quite as strong as Legacy. Yeah, not being able to get like a Wasteland or Caracas. But Knight is still a creature that can be very, very large. And you do have utility lands that are valuable later in the game in Modern.
I find that a lot of the utility lands in Legacy that people play come into play tapped or don't produce mana, which is almost unacceptable in Modern because of the speed at which you have to be able to interact.
All right, we get some triggers here. Suiting up the Shaman team.
1. Trigger.
And getting an attack trigger and swinging for 3.
So we see Shamans protecting their, board quantity, just for later times of being able to get in when they're not 2/2s, or at least holding back that Knight from doing any big chunks by itself.
All right, there's the Huntmaster coming along with his wolf friends and gaining a couple points of life.
Those are 2 powerful turns in a row for Kurt. Oh,
God,
here we go.
For all the Rage Forgers.
Nice.
Tim's running hot over here, it seems like.
Triggers at 2.
All right, we get 2 triggers for each of the attacking creatures, so a total of 6 life.
I think I would make this trade.
And Knight there's 1 land in the graveyard, but we could block, activate Knight, get a fetch land perhaps, and have Knight gobble up something.
Perhaps a Rage Forger. So the Rage Forger is just a 3/3 right now. So theoretically, he could just go get like a Sajiri Step, still eat that Rage Forger and give his wolf protection. No, we're
just
going
going
big.
for the fetch land. Yeah, Sajiri Step is a very cute card with Knight. Not sure if it's Kurt's playing that or not. It feels like it's a maybe of sometimes in kind of a fringe deck to begin with.
What am I doing? That doesn't matter. So your guy had 7.
Right,
It's
Kurt's
the
dropping to
Manatide of
7.
lands.
Right. So you're not going to be super surprised if you see it, but you never play around it.
Right.
Another wild Nikadal.
Pass the turn. End step.
So Kurt electing not to cast any creatures, hoping to get the flip off of Huntmaster. But perhaps Tim has something like a lightning bolt.
Can't imagine he would have taken them out. But no, looks like we get to see a Ravager of some fells. Hopefully that'll
12. I just
resolve onto the Rage Forger there for Kurt, and
You're right, so. It's like, wow,
we
I
got
did really
ourselves
well. Okay, so
a
up
pretty
here.
good game.
Triggers. You know where it's going. Yeah.
All right, Tim's going to take 2, and there goes the Rage Forger.
Draw card? Yeah.
That was a nice little graphic flip there.
Play crafter?
We're professionals around here.
This is a reader. What do we got? What do we got here?
A Plague Crafter.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Looks like Kurt's going to have to sacrifice a creature.
Curious. You know, I'm willing to bet it's a Shaman.
You put your money on it?
Yeah.
What do I want to do?
The stats on this aren't embarrassing.
I don't know. Okay, yeah. Resolves.
There's some 1/1s floating around in this deck that you wouldn't mind giving up.
But Playcraft are going to sack itself, and there goes the Ravager of the Fells.
Ooh. It did some good work, though.
Tim perhaps is flooding out a little bit here.
Is this where I died? Because I don't have enough. No, I'm gonna.
See a Blessed Alliance in Kurt's hand as well.
No.
Hey, Kurt, thinking about just gaining 4 life?
I'm playing mind games with you. Let me think. Okay, I'm gonna Blessed Alliance with Escalate. Sure. So target player gains 4 life. Yeah. And untap up to 2 target creatures. Sure. So with that on the stack, I'll respond. Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay, so Kurt is escalating Blessed Alliance to gain 4 life and untap a creature. In response to casting Blessed Alliance, Kurt is going to activate Knight. So, curious if we're going to get a utility land here, or if we're just trying to grow Knight.
Play Day just gave you.
Nope. We're just on the grow plan, it looks like.
Okay, so you're at 6.
Are we going to see a Kessig Wolf run finish today?
That would be pretty sweet.
And then untap trigger, I gain 4 life. With a 6, so then I'm up at 10. Yeah. So that's resolves. Yeah. Okay.
And it seems like Tim probably didn't have a lightning bolt the last turn, so Tim would have had to have drawn the lightning bolt this turn, which the lightning bolt isn't even going to kill Knight, so it'd have to be a Path to Exile, and there's no white mana up.
Okay. So my turn. Yes.
So, Kessig Wolf Run is one of the wonderful utility lands from the cycle back in Innistrad. These were used pretty well across the board, even the flash one.
Right now I'm currently seeing 6 lands in Kurt's graveyard, and we have another Windswept Heath, so yeah, it looks like this is going to be a close one.
Even if it's a forced block, this kind of spells bad news for Tim.
A 9/9 would be pumped up to 11.
Really like the basic game here.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, all right, we're just getting a Sigarda.
Ooh.
Well, Kurt's not going to be sacrificing any more creatures.
I see, like, what, maybe 7 lands in the graveyard?
I think we have a
9/9.
9/9 count on the
And
Knight of Reliquary right now.
Tim has 2 3/3s. I guess.
Yeah, Tim with another land drop there. It's about 2 more lands than Tim would like. See a tireless tracker for Kurt, but there might not be any real reason to deploy another permanent.
Unless it was a land.
That's true.
Ooh.
No blocks.
I'm not sure. This.
Go to 5. Yep.
Okay.
I'm
so
not a Naya midrange master.
Kurt just came in for 5 there. And it's just making sure there's some D perhaps in case of any strange going-ons. You know, if you're playing against a deck like Shamans, you might not know what all is going to be coming at you. And we have a collective company there for Tim, and is it going to be big? No phantasmal images in this.
Is that
this
Judith?
deck.
Yeah.
Oh, Judith.
I know.
That's a cool one.
Right? It also seems like one of those, this might be one of those ways for Tim to have dug a win out of this. Yeah, we
So,
have we've got a
pseudo
lot of
artifact.
creatures.
Yeah.
Not only that, we get some extra burn on the death triggers if things trade. We still get attack triggers when things swing.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm thinking Kurt might have had a better chance had he been able to force some of those other shamans to not be on the battlefield today.
Correct.
Turn earlier.
You have to be. Oh wait. True that. Obviously.
Tim is feeling the rage.
Card's very powerful. They haven't made a tribal lord in that vein in a long time. The Hellrider ability of getting burn on attacks is.
Sacrifice to do 2 damage.
Woo!
Legendary rule. So you're at 7.
That is just
All right,
a
Tim just
burn for
casting
one.
another Judith for a 1 point of burn there.
Yeah.
Triggers from Rage Forger puts you at 3. And if you block 3, then the Judas will
Oh boy, Kurt's in an
Right.
awkward spot.
That's
You
yeah.
have to block,
I have to block
you have
and
to
then
block,
I die.
and then you die from the Judith trigger.
Yeah.
Unless there's something like a Radiant Fountain in the
Yeah.
deck.
Oh.
looks like there's not.
Yeah. And I think there were some routes to victory for Naya there.
Because yeah, you have to block at least these. You have to at least block these 3. And then
It did feel
all
like there was a
3
pretty
Judith
pivotal
triggers.
turn where Tim wasn't able to cast a collective
was
company,
chicken,
and Kurt could have threatened lethal with the knight,
Wow.
but that did not
And
happen,
also
and
they
Tim
brought-
was
I
able
forgot you said
to
Sigarda, 'cause I brought him
assemble
from,
all the
like,
shamans.
I think Tim played very tight that
That's
game.
some value, but
He knew his outs. He was able to hit nice on his company.
Where's my firing
Even his, I liked his play of playing the extra
I
Judith
almost-
just to
'cause I was on
ping
that
for
draw,
one.
I actually almost brought him from
You got the mana in the card. We're gonna win this turn or lose. So
But I had some real
They're not bad because they
cards.
can kill a creature.
Yeah.
That's the thing, and draw you cards.
I remember when Plaguecrafter was first spoiled, a lot of folks thought that was going to give humans
Yeah.
just even
I don't want to
an additional creature that was going to kind of bump out any of the combo
I
creature decks.
I could still see that happening at some point. I think humans has a lot of potential for evolving, and in the future, it may be the case that you would want to have some of that ability available to you. So I don't see it being played a lot right now in the humans deck, but I would not be surprised to see it in the humans deck.
Yeah, I would love to see a Plaguecrafter off an Aether Vial in response to like an Emrakul coming into play.
Yeah. But then I just runner. God,
Oh, cool! We have someone that resubscribed here. Feudal joined us for another month, and yeah, we're rolling in the dough now. But we appreciate any subscriptions or resubscriptions. We're working on upgrading equipment and bringing people more streams here. Thinking about branching out, doing some legacy, and yeah, there's a lot of change in Portland with Paper Magic, and we hope to be part of that and bring more coverage. But speaking of more coverage, it looks like we got some time left here, so we're going to cruise around out there and see if we can't bring you the end of another match.
yeah, actually,